So sorry for the delay, but now we're able to get moving here. So, all right. So basically, we have a comment section right to the side of us here. So as I'm going through this, if you have any questions or concerns, just feel free to let me know, and I'll try and answer them the best that I can. So first we're going to start off. This is a little Q&A session that we're going to have every now and then with maybe some potential questions you might have in regards to job searching or interview skills or anything like that, okay? So first off, we're going to, one of the questions that I guess people encounter that we received was, do I need a cover letter when applying to Tim Hortons or any type of retail position? So, you know, a cover letter, I believe, is something that you would do as a little introduction about yourself. So most of the time for like a Tim Hortons type of position or any kind of customer service position, unless it's asked of you, you don't necessarily need to do it, but if you'd like to, by all means, go ahead. And like I said, you might want to just highlight for those types of positions because they are all customer service based. You might want to outline you know, some of your customer service skills, the fact that you might be outgoing, friendly, approachable. Because for those customer service types of positions, that is pretty much what an employer is looking for. Okay, so cover letters for those types of position, not necessary. However, if you do have one or you're willing to do one, by all means, go ahead. Usually in a job ad or a job posting, if the employer is looking for one, they'll ask for one. Another question that we received was, what should I wear to a construction job interview? So with a construction job type interview, a lot of the times the interview could actually be on like a work site. So it'd probably be in your best interest to show up with a pair of work boots, work pants, and probably like a plaid shirt or a work shirt. A good idea is also to probably have you know, your tools with you, because at that point in time, they might want you to start right then on the job. But for like something as far as like a retail position goes, you're obviously not going to show up in a pair of jogging pants. Probably be a good idea to kind of go with, you know, something that someone at the store would most likely wear. So if they kind of have like a business casual type of look going, I would try and also follow suit. Okay. Another question we encountered was, what is the most important thing to have on a resume? So what I usually do when I'm helping somebody with a resume or creating a resume is I like to have the job ad or the job posting right beside me, so that when I'm putting together a resume, if they're looking for specific skills like certain training, you know, a recent graduate, those are types of things that you're going to want to include on your resume right off the bat. So a prime example would be if they're looking for like a recent graduate, that's one of their highlighted points. Maybe it's for some kind of intern position. You would want to include that in one of your first points. You know, I get a lot of clients who are bilingual, but you would never know it. So I always let them know, I say, you know, bilingual is an asset. Being bilingual is an asset. So that's something you'd probably want to include at the very top of your resume. A lot of the times employers are looking for someone with a, you know, valid G driver's license, someone with access to a vehicle. Those are important factors that it's important to include on your resume right off the bat. You also want to include on your resume your most recent work experience. So you try not to leave any gaps on that, followed by your education, and then also any volunteer work, community involvement. Those things go pretty far on a resume. Employers like to see that stuff. Okay, so yeah, when it comes to putting together a resume, I would highly suggest putting on your strongest skills right in, you know, the first section. So if you want to call it highlighted skills, highlights qualification, just put those down at the very beginning. Okay. Another question that we got is, or that we received, how do I make my resume seen by an employer, or how do I get the employer to see my resume? So right now, because of COVID, it's very rare that you're able to go in person and hand in your resume to an employer directly. So, but back when we were able to go in, hand in resume in person, what you would normally always do is you always want to ask to speak to the manager. Okay, because a lot of the times, those resumes could end up in the wrong hands, could end up in the garbage, or never actually quite make it to the manager. So what you want to do is when you go in, always ask to speak to the manager. And if he is not in, you might want to ask, when is the best time to come in? What hours does he normally or she normally work? So this way, you are kind of being able to meet with the employer. He is able to put a face to the resume, and it just, you're able to kind of have that first interaction. Okay. What's another question we got here? Should I apply online or in person? So, like I said, if we were in different circumstances here and we weren't right in the middle of a pandemic, if the employer asks for you to apply in person or, gives you the option to either apply online or in person, always I would say go in person and apply. But like I said, most people aren't applying in person nowadays. And a lot of the times employers, if they specifically ask that you apply online, I would suggest doing so. Because a lot of the times, like your employers like Michael's, Winners, Home Depot, you can go in, or even Walmart, you can go in person and apply, but they're going to redirect you back to their website to apply online. Reason being is because a lot of the times they have, little assessments that they would like you to complete, which I guess helps them determine in the long run whether or not you'd be a good fit for that position. So, like I said, nowadays, the only option realistically is applying online. Okay. So what kind of resume should I put together? Should it be a creative or a plain resume done in Word? Now, like again, it totally depends on the type of position that you're applying for. If you're applying for some type of graphic designs position, you would obviously want to highlight your skills and go the route of a more creative resume. But if you're just applying for a typical type position, you just really, the graphics at that point in time really don't come into play as much as your skill set does, right? So for like a Word document that you'd be putting a resume together, that one would be perfectly fine to do. Okay, so this is always a tricky one, and I get asked this question a lot when I'm just actually working in the resource center, and it's, what should I ask in an interview? So there's quite a few things that you could possibly ask during an interview. Obviously, one of the biggest mistakes people make is asking how much will I get paid on this job, which never ever ask that type of question. But some questions that you could ask are, what's involved in the day-to-day responsibilities of the position? Has this position changed over time? Can you describe maybe the working culture of this company? Is there potentially professional development opportunities? How does this, company measure success in this role? You might also want to ask, when will this position be filled? And in asking specific questions, you're kind of, letting them know that you're really interested and eager of potentially, landing this position. So, I always say you should at least always ask 1 or 2 questions throughout the interview. And then obviously this one, should I follow up after having an interview? So, my recommendation is I think you should always follow up after an interview, and you should follow up in basically two to about a week, between 2 days and a week's time. Okay, and what you want to do is you want to address the person, I guess, who you met with by emailing and making sure you mention their first name. You might want to mention the job title of the role that you were following up about, and just kind of refresh their memory about what date you had came in on. So if it was a Tuesday last week, just kind of, throw that out there as well. You want to also confirm that you're still interested in the position and that you are eager to hear about the next steps. And always you want to just say, thank you for taking the time to meet with me. So yeah, following up after an interview, I think is pretty important, and it would only probably help you in the long run. What else? Who and how should I address the cover letter? So if you're putting together a cover letter. So really with any company that you're applying to, and if it's a company type of position, you can find out who will be human resources, who will be doing the interviewing, either online or even just by calling the employer directly or the agency directly. I think it's really important that when putting together a cover letter that you absolutely address the person that you will be getting interviewed by, okay? Also, if you don't know the person, always to whom it may concern is always a great one to use, okay? For a lot of the government type positions, there's usually a job ID number to refer to, so you always want to make sure that you include that as well. What else? Oh, and so last but not least, this is a question that I've also dealt with before, and it's, should I hide my tattoos and piercings in an interview? So, this is a tough one. I feel like nowadays employers are very open to, I guess, everybody's own individuality in the sense of, you are who you are. And if you have tattoos and piercings, that are part of you and your character, and you feel comfortable with that, I don't see any reason to cover it up. However, it really does depend on the type of position that you're applying for. So, you know what, I say it would probably be your own decision to make. It's a tough one though, but if you feel comfortable enough, I guess, in your own body to, have the piercings and show them, I can't see that being something that would potentially deter an employer from wanting to hire you. So those were a few questions that we, had come through. Also, if you can think of any other questions that you might have or you might want answered, please reach out to us, and at our next session we'll do our best to answer those. Okay, well, thanks for tuning in, and have yourself a great day.